Imagine a runaway trolley hurtling down a track. Ahead, there are 5 workers on the track, completely unaware of the trolley speeding towards them. If nothing is done, the trolley will hit and kill all 5 of them. However, there's a switch the driver can pull, diverting the trolley onto a side track. But here's the catch. There's one worker on the side track, and if the trolley is diverted, that person will be killed instead of the 5. So, the question is simple. What should the driver do? Do you sacrifice one life to save 5? This moral dilemma has troubled philosophers and ethicists for decades, and it has no clear-cut answer. The core issue at play here is whether it's justifiable to actively intervene and sacrifice one person to save many. This dilemma introduces us to 2 contrasting ethical approaches: utilitarianism and deontology. A utilitarian would argue that saving 5 lives is the better choice, as it maximizes overall well-being. From this perspective, pulling the switch is the morally correct action because the value of 5 lives outweighs 1. On the other hand, a deontologist might argue that it's morally wrong to intentionally cause harm, regardless of the outcome. In this case, pulling the switch would make you responsible for the one person's death, which is unacceptable, even if it saves more lives. But as with many thought experiments, the situation becomes more complex when we add variations. Imagine a hospital with 5 patients, each in need of a different organ transplant. Now, suppose a lottery is held among healthy citizens, and one person is randomly selected to have their organs harvested to save the 5 patients. In other words, the healthy person is sacrificed to save 5 lives. Should such a system be allowed to exist? This is a thought experiment known as the survival lottery, and like the trolley problem, it poses the same question. Is it permissible to sacrifice one person to save many? For most people, the idea of directly killing someone to harvest their organs feels inherently wrong, even if the logic seems similar to the previous scenarios. At this point, you might be thinking, these are just thought experiments. We're never going to face such extreme situations in real life. But, surprisingly, the trolley problem is becoming increasingly relevant, especially in the context of self-driving cars. With the rise of artificial intelligence, we are edging closer to a world where machines will need to make life and death decisions in real time. One area where this ethical dilemma is playing out is in the development of self-driving cars. Self-driving cars are programmed to follow the rules of the road and to avoid accidents as much as possible. But what happens when a self-driving car is faced with a no-win situation similar to the trolley problem? Let's imagine a self-driving car is speeding down the road when suddenly, it's about to hit 5 pedestrians crossing the street. The car has 2 options: hit the 5 pedestrians, or swerve into another lane, where 1 pedestrian is walking. Which decision should the car's AI make? Should it prioritize saving the greater number of lives, or should it avoid intentionally causing harm to any one person? These questions, once relegated to the realm of philosophy, are becoming practical issues that engineers and ethicists need to grapple with as they design the decision-making algorithms for autonomous vehicles. Unlike a human driver, who might panic and be unable to make a rational choice in a split-second emergency, AI can make decisions instantly based on its programming. This means that the choices engineers make when designing these systems are, in effect, predetermining how the AI will behave in these high-stakes situations. But this leads to even more complex ethical dilemmas. For example, let's consider a scenario where a self-driving car is about to crash into 2 motorcyclists. One motorcyclist is wearing a helmet, and the other isn't. Should the car choose to hit the motorcyclist wearing a helmet, knowing that they have a higher chance of surviving the impact? While this might seem like the rational choice, it introduces a strange paradox. Does wearing a helmet, which is supposed to increase safety, now make you a more likely target in such scenarios? These ethical considerations don't stop at pedestrians and motorcyclists. There are also questions about the passengers inside the self-driving car. Imagine a car driving across a bridge, and suddenly, it's faced with the choice of either hitting several pedestrians or swerving off the bridge, potentially killing its passengers. Should the car prioritize the safety of its passengers, or should it sacrifice them to save more lives? This is where the dilemma extends beyond ethics and into the realm of consumer preference. Most people would likely want to ride in a car that prioritizes their safety above all else. However, from a utilitarian perspective, it might make more sense for the car to sacrifice its passengers to save a greater number of people outside the vehicle. This tension between ethical theory and consumer demand makes the question of how to program these systems even more complex. Moreover, if the car does choose to sacrifice its passengers or hit pedestrians, who bears the responsibility? Is it the car's owner? The manufacturer? The engineers who designed the AI? Currently, there are no clear legal frameworks to address these questions, and the issue of liability in autonomous driving remains a topic of intense debate. To explore these ethical questions further, researchers are actively seeking public input. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology created an online platform called the Moral Machine to gather data on how people would make decisions in trolley problem-like scenarios. The platform presents users with various dilemmas, such as whether to save a group of people or an individual, or whether to prioritize a young person over an elderly person, and asks them to choose who should be saved. The results of this survey have provided fascinating insights into human moral preferences, revealing that people tend to prioritize saving more lives, younger people over older people, and humans over animals. However, there are cultural differences as well. For example, in countries like Japan, where law and order are highly valued, respondents are more likely to say that jaywalkers deserve to be hit. In countries with higher wealth disparities, like Colombia, there's a tendency to sacrifice people seen as less privileged, such as the homeless. These cultural nuances complicate the search for a universal ethical code that could be applied to self-driving cars across the globe. As we move toward a future with AI-powered vehicles, these ethical challenges will become more pressing. The trolley problem, once confined to philosophical debate, is now a real-world issue that needs practical solutions. While we don't yet have all the answers, ongoing research and public discussions are helping to shape the future of ethical decision-making in autonomous technology. So, while you might not find yourself standing by a trolley switch anytime soon, the ethical dilemmas posed by the trolley problem are more relevant to our everyday lives than ever before. As we continue to develop AI and autonomous systems, we'll need to find a way to balance safety, ethics, and personal values in an increasingly complex world.